3.5 million. I spend 15 minutes a week at most on this thing, and it threw off 600 grand in my pocket last year. Once you find a rock star that would call it 50% of what it would cost you in the US, like, you're never going to let them go.
Welcome to the Franchise Champion Show. I'm Alan Regala, former G1 athlete, Stanford engineer, and 14-year franchise owner who built and sold a multi-million-dollar business. I created this show to help driven individuals like you find the right franchise and learn how to build wealth and reclaim your time. Today, I'm joined by Matt Martin and Tammy Romage, founder and chief growth officer of Satellite Teams Global. Matt stumbled into franchising almost by accident, building it to solve his own problem first, and Tammy left the top of a completely different world to help him grow it. They're in the middle of figuring it out, all in real time, and that's exactly why I wanted to get them on now. Matt, Tammy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us,
Thank
Alan.
you, Alan.
I'm super excited to speak with you and have you guys on the show. You're a newer brand, and I really wanted to dive in and learn more about it and help educate others on your brand as well. So before we dive into Satellite Teams, Matt, let's start with you. What were you doing and how did you end up building this into a franchise?
So just as quick background, I'm sort of a serial entrepreneur, deal junkie. Been involved in a whole variety of different industries, lots of different businesses. Whenever I sort of get a little too much time on my hands, I start another company. It's sort of a problem, but not really. We all have our vices. So entrepreneurship has always been something I've been passionate about. And in, call it 2019, I was running 4 different businesses at the time in various different industries, but it really found the need to find a way to crack sort of leveraging offshore in a way that I liked it, the way that I wanted it, the way that I thought it would sort of work. I tried a variety of other sort of strategies of using business process outsourcing, freelancers, et cetera, and just couldn't find sort of the right fit for what I wanted, what I needed for our businesses. So just, continuing on, I was running a variety of different businesses in various different industries. At a tech business, a subprime auto platform, where we buy subprime auto loans. I have a company that cleans up foreclosed houses for the federal government and banks. So a variety of different industries, and really found the need to find the way to leverage offshore resources sort of the way that I wanted it. And so tried business process outsourcing, tried leveraging, freelancers, and I couldn't make it work for a variety of different reasons, and said, I'm just going to build a better mousetrap for myself. And so Satellite Teams initially was never meant to be served sort of anyone else. Just to further sort of the origin story, I'm part of this organization called YPO, it's like Young Presidents Organization. It's essentially other business owners and executives. And there's small groups that we meet every month. And I would meet with my small group and I said, I'm going to try and move this one function offshore. And they thought I was crazy to start with, and did that the first month. The second month, I moved customer success. First, I started with technology. Then I went to customer service. Customer success was the second month. By the third month, they thought I needed to be committed when I said I was going to move finance overseas. And they thought I was just absolutely crazy and I'm nuts. By the fourth month, then it was a function of, okay, so it's really working. No one stole all your money, and it actually, you were able to reduce your, the expenditure by how much? And, by the end of that meeting, it was, hold on a second, can you teach me how to do it too? Like, how does this work? Like, help me in my business. So again, the sort of Satellite Teams in general was never meant to be for anyone else. So I built it how I wanted, which really, I got a lot of scratches and gray hair and bruises from figuring it out, if you will, but, figured out the mousetrap the way that I would want it and with the way that I thought as others, engaged with me of sort of helping build it for them. And so got to experience a ton of different industries that were supporting companies in lots of different sizes and levels of complexity, et cetera. And so Satellite Team sort of evolved organically. From there, we ended up getting into franchising, really because this is so much of a relational business, right? This is not a marketing-driven business whatsoever. 85% of our clients had never leveraged or worked with offshore resources before working with us, right? So it's very much like we're holding someone's hand, helping them architect their workforce design, try to figure out like what is strategic, what do you need to keep internally, like what's your special sauce as an organization, like if it's not special sauce, then, try and find somebody else to do it. Don't spend time on it. So that's what sort of led us to franchising. We have a ton of the millions and millions of dollars we're invested in the infrastructure in terms of legal entities, technology, really to allow people a company can hire 10 people in 10 different countries through us and still deal with a single invoice that they pay. They're not dealing with currency, Forex, trying to figure out how to pay a rice allowance in the Philippines or an aguinaldo in Mexico. Like, we handle all that for them. So an incredible amount of infrastructure that you need in place anyway. And so what we found was, allowing other entrepreneurs to be able to leverage their relationships and create value for both themselves as well as their clients. This was very much more sort of a relational business. And so that's where we led to franchising. So where we are today, a bunch of amazing people that are franchise owners from all kinds of different backgrounds and walks of life. Everything from, being the CEO of a bank to running a university healthcare system to being a private equity backed, the COO of a private equity backed golf apparel company, right? So it's like these folks are from all sorts of different walks of life. They have connectivity with all kinds of different folks and understand different industries, different markets, but they're all still able to leverage our technology, our platform, our infrastructure. Again, not have to recreate it. So that's sort of what led us to franchising.
Got it. And so just to be very clear with our audience here, tell us succinctly, I would say, with what your company does, what's the pain point that you solve for your clients or your franchisees solve for their clients? And, how do you impact the lives of those clients, those businesses?
So I think the first thing to start with, I think, is just making sure that it's clear of really functionally what we do, right? So when a client comes to us, what do we really do when it comes down to it is we act as an international recruiter, no differently than a recruitment firm would in the US or Canada or wherever it is. So we are a recruiter. And then subsequently, we are like an international ADP or Paychex. So think about it from that perspective. So we are what's called an employer of record, or think about us like a PEO, right? So a client can come to us and have different business needs, and we help them architect, okay, we're based on those business needs, your budget, language requirements, time requirements, really a lot of the soft skills, like where's the right country, where you're going to have the highest likelihood of success for placing that specific role. We then go and delve really deep into really sort of defining what the role is. What we find is so many companies are lazy about really defining what success looks like. And so we really help our clients really figure out what that is. So what does success look like for this role? What are the KPIs? Who's the person going to report to? Whether or not this position is bonused or not. If it was going to be bonused, like what would be the makeup of that bonus, right? Because incentive, compensation drives behavior. So try to help people think through that a little bit more in depth. From there, we'll help them identify, again, which country to go into. We're going to recruit inside that country. So we have recruiters across the planet that know how to go find amazing rock star talent in all these various different countries. Once the client decides on who they'd like to hire, we then act as that international sort of Paychex ADP, if you will. So the client pays us, and again, they can have 10 candidates or 10 employees, if you will, in 10 different countries. We're managing all of the HR compliance, payroll, benefits administration, PTO compliance, commissions, and like literally anything as it relates to not functionally doing the day-to-day activity of the work. All of that HR related activity we're handling on their behalf, and as well as processing payroll, benefits, taxes, reporting, etc.
Got it.
That makes sense?
That makes sense. Yes. I love it. It sounds like you're providing a great, essentially, recruiting service for companies that want to expand their teams and save money at the same time. I mean, does that sound about right?
Totally. I mean, don't worry. The vast majority of clients come to us because they're looking to be able to find ways to expand their team and save money. But there's also huge talent gaps where we're able to help solve for as well. I'll give two examples. The public accounting space is an example. There's far more people aging out of that space than getting into it. And so there's a huge talent gap in public accounting. When you think about real estate appraisers, same type of dynamic, a huge amount of people aging out of that industry than getting in it. So it's not just a function of, can I find cheaper sort of places where, the cost of living is simply less, and they're still like rock star, amazingly smart folks. There's plenty of industries that have a massive talent vacuum. And so again, they sort of have to look outside of the US in order to fulfill that as well.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. Tammy, let's hear from you. I would love to hear a little bit about your background and then how you got involved in all this.
Absolutely. But, simply hire the perfect employee on the other side of the world as if they were sitting next to you. That's simply what we do is we just take out all the complexity, by our global infrastructure. And the best part is our owners sit in the middle, driving, workforce expansion and revenues. So we're excited about that. But my background is totally different. I have nearly 3 decades in a global beauty business prior to being with Satellite Teams. And for me, what was always very important to me is helping others win. That's what I love to do the most. But within that last 27 years, led sales organizations, developed leaders, created infrastructure, incentivized programs, help business owners simplify, scale, and win. Like what I love to do is detangle strategy. Take something that might seem a little difficult, but detangle the strategy and simplify the process so you have reoccurring revenue, and be able to continue to scale and grow and build that way. So yeah, I am blessed that I get to work with our owners from the very beginning in their first 30, 60, 90 days, and then on the way to, have an enterprise value at the end. And so, yeah, that's what Alan, every day is like a new day because I get to sit at this table with all these brilliant, incredible owners. All of them come from different industries, have different backgrounds, but all of us know that the one, piece that is important to our business is the relationships, right? So it all goes back down to building relationships with our clients, building relationships with our owners, and building relationships with each other.
Nice. Love it. I love it. All right. So you guys started franchising in January, right? Can you tell me what year it was that you started, Matt, that you started the kind of the original corporate location, I guess. And then now it's June, beginning of June right now. Like how many franchise owners you have at this point?
So Satellite Teams is a world-class global operating infrastructure. And we help U.S. businesses place top-tier remote employees like all over the world. But we take away all the complexity behind it. We handle the HR, payroll, compliance, all the legality that goes along with it, and actually helping our clients save up to 70% of domestic hiring. And so our owners as a franchisor kind of sits in the middle of this incredible infrastructure, but also our tech, our marketing, and then of course their revenue engine.
So how many franchisees do you guys have at this point in the whatever, 5-6 months?
Seven today, and we've got another 20 or so in pipeline. So we're growing quickly. It's having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We just entered into New Zealand, or we'll be in Canada next week, the UK. So we're sort of expanding, and we're focused on serving the English-speaking market first, and then we'll move into the French-speaking market after that.
Alan, we're really excited about expanding globally. Like this is really, really exciting for us because, there's talented people all over the world, but just as like our owners, and Matt described a little bit about some of them, who they are, and our 7 owners right now just bring so much to the table of success in this mastermind table with all the different verticals, all of their experiences that they already have. So they're not really starting over as a franchisee owner with Satellite Teams. They're starting from experience, and they're leveraging those relationships at the same time.
Okay. So this is interesting. I'm very curious to hear, most of the franchise brands I speak with are based in the US, and they're really focused on the US and, building that up first and then potentially expanding into other countries. Sounds like you guys are doing that pretty quickly. Can you tell me more about that, that strategy and how you guys are growing this globally, from the get-go?
Sure. So having access to talent globally doesn't really change depending on where the client may stem from, right? So and it's interesting too, because it's not just there's other dynamics at play that also create opportunity. But if you're a company based in London, it's very, very expensive, right? Do you need to pay your bookkeeper in London? Why? Like it's extremely expensive. And it's not only just the expense side of it, but it's also the labor and complexity associated with it, right? You're just going to look at some countries are extremely employee friendly, where it makes that part be difficult as an entrepreneur as well. I mean, so I mentioned sort of solving the English-speaking world first, but I mean, France is an example. I mean, you can have the world's worst employee ever in Paris and you can't fire them. I mean, it's very difficult, right? So leveraging, the French-speaking world, you can hire in Senegal as an example, right? Where it's not, you're not sort of stuck into this almost like lifelong employee-employer relationship that if it's not working out or toxic, you're almost stuck in France. And so when you're looking at, and again, I don't mean to pick on France, but there's just certain places. I mean, Mexico as well is a very employee-friendly dynamic, very employee-friendly market. So Mexican companies may actually end up hiring Colombians through us as an example, right? So our Mexican franchisees are selling to companies in Mexico to be able to provide this solution. And it's not because all of a sudden it's so much cheaper from a labor perspective between Mexico and Colombia. It's a little cheaper in Colombia, depending on type of role. But it's that the labor complexity is so much easier in working with Colombia. So again, there's all sorts of mixed matches, right? So when you think about the English-speaking world, when you look at just the cost to hire and the average salary, the English-speaking world sits pretty high up there, right, across all of the different countries. And so to the extent that you have an English-speaking sort of theme or common thread, these same solutions work anywhere. So the cost differential sometimes will change, right? So Canada, from a labor perspective, is about 25% less than the US. But so the savings isn't as much, but it's just as impactful being able to leverage satellite team members for a Canadian business as it is for a US business, right? So it's like there's lots of different dynamics at play. Again, Canada tends to be more employee friendly, so it can make it more complex. So the savings aren't there from a dollar for dollar perspective as much, but it's more complex. And so there's all these different sort of avenues and angles where, again, leveraging the same technology, the same thesis around, the underlying thesis is there's smart people all over the planet, just companies don't know how to access them, right? And then they don't know how to pay them, they don't know how to employ them. So if you take that all out of the equation, the world gets much smaller very quickly. And so there's lots of these sort of ways to weave the needle, if you will.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wouldn't have even considered that one of the benefits is obviously cost is a benefit if that exists, a lower cost, but just the headache factor and being able to have the right people on the team. And if I can imagine, if you're in one of these countries that makes it difficult to release somebody from employment and you've got the wrong person on the team, I mean, that sounds like a disaster. So that's a huge benefit. I could definitely see that. That's very cool. So how do you guys, maybe this is for Tammy here, then the growth of this franchise business, how does that work when you're looking to expand in so many countries, really all at the same time?
How does growth work?
Yeah.
So
honestly, it seems like a really dumb question. It's a simple question.
No,
but
not at all. That's exactly what we all want, right? Is growth. I think growth starts from the very beginning with our brand new owners as they come on board, right? So if we're talking about growing and expanding, I think it starts from the very beginning on day zero of working with our owners and helping them set incredible goals from the very beginning, milestones, walking them through all those first next steps. One of the things that we do with our owners is we have a real 4 to 5 day deep dive called immersion. And when they come to immersion, it's kind of when the math clicks, the ahas happen. But we really believe in just activating them, not just working or listening in theory, but actually start to grow and build. So we start to look at capital mapping, who do they know? What are the verticals? What industries do they already have connections in? And we help walk them through those processes. So by the time they leave immersion, they've already been inserted in the model. And it's not just by theory, but it's actually activating. So I think growth starts from the very beginning when an owner first starts in their very first day, the very first 30, 60, 90 days, but then setting those goals for them as as they go along. Our goal for our owners is to do 100 placements in their very first year. And so we already have put the infrastructure together so that they could follow the next best steps to be able to do that. And the infrastructure that works here in the US will also work in Canada, will also work in the UK, or will also work in Australia. So it's the same infrastructure of our owners of, diving in and helping business owners alleviate some of the bottlenecks and the things that they have, and to be able to help those owners place incredible, talented people from all over the world through satellite teams. It happens in so many different ways, right?
So you mentioned earlier, the franchisees are not necessarily starting from zero, right? You said they're starting from experience, right? So tell me then about like who your ideal franchise candidate is, and what is that experience? Like, what are the backgrounds of the people that you have now, and what is that recipe for success?
Right. Well, all of them have very, very different experience, but all of them also have people experience, right? And building relationships and what they've already done. And Matt did mention a few of them, but one oversees over 13 laboratories. So her vertical would be more in the healthcare, but it doesn't mean she can't expand to other verticals. So all of our owners are very different in the experience they already have. Some this is their second bite of the apple, have already had a career like me over 27 years in a global beauty business. Now, we're ready to have a different focus, to focus more on an enterprise value, have a different lens, create that and additional income for their family at the same time. So that's and our owners, really what they're doing is they're out driving workforce, like driving client relationships and workforce expansion is what they're doing. So it's a real relationship driven model. Again, with that reoccurring revenue, supported by our proven infrastructure.
So I imagine, the goal obviously is this is a B2B. So you're helping businesses, right? And so we talk about this being a relationship business. Your owners are, I imagine, forging relationships with other owners, are trying to find them. And so is this, if we just look at, what are kind of owners doing on a day-to-day basis? Is this a lot of networking? Tapping into their existing network, or, can someone who who wasn't a CEO and doesn't have those same connections, is this something that, they can build over time through, whatever your training is? What does that look like on a day-to-day basis?
Right. Well, their typical day is talking to business owners, right? Other business owners, executives, operators. That's their typical day. And they could be doing discovery conversations, looking at their workflow or talking to them of how they can help them solve those problems. Out to dinner, right? And or over lunch or over coffee, and or being at conferences or associations, or being a member of a chamber of commerce. All those ways that how all business owners connect every single day is how our business owners also connect. So most of our owners, our owners do come on board with already relationships in their pocket. Like they already have built relationships and are able to drive them. And then we also, through our immersion and different education, we talk about affiliate programs and really helping our owners to continue to increase that pipeline of relationships, as they continue to grow and scale and build their business at the same time. And affiliates and referrals, those are all the different ways that they would. And Matt would probably want to add a few things to that as well.
Yeah, I just like to call a spade, right? Like this is definitely something where you will be much more successful if you're coming with a relationship, right? Like if you lived it, you've breathed it. One of our owners said one time that, if you've never had a $100 million IT project go completely sideways, like in the middle of it, it's going to be very difficult for you to relate to someone else having that same problem, right? So not to say that that's the one thing that happens all the time, but business owners need to be able to have a conversation with someone who they view credibly, that can sort of talk the same language, that has had, have the same bruises, has sort of worked through organizational dynamics and shifts and things along those lines. Like I would just say, this is not something for the 24-year-old, that has no experience and no business contacts. I mean, it's just not. Could we sit there if we wanted to run them through and have to just start them day one, sales 101? Like it's probably, we're not the right model for them. We're the right model for the, executive that's looking to do their next thing, but their executive that's been in any industry doesn't matter. I mean, our business is completely, industry agnostic, position agnostic. We're helping clients place C-level talent down to the most junior level and everything in between. But it's the ability to think through things. You're going to have a lot more success if you have that experience sort of managing teams, managing organizations, having ran a P&L, or responsible for a big chunk of it, things along those. You're just going to think differently.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's helpful. And it's helpful to know both who is a good candidate for this franchise and also who is not. And that I think clearly differentiates, distinguishes the two. So that's great. That's helpful. Quick pause. If you're thinking about what Matt just described, here's something useful. I'm a former franchise owner, 14 years, multi-million-dollar exit. Now I help corporate professionals find the right franchise based on your goals, skills, and investment level. Then I match you with opportunities from over 600 brands and support you all the way through. And it's completely free. I'm only paid by franchisors if you decide to move forward with the right fit. If you're wondering if satellite teams or another franchise could work for you, go to athletetoowner.com/ready and book a 15-minute call. Now, back to Matt and Tammy. So you guys have 7 franchisees now. You're in multiple countries. What do you see the growth, the trajectory look like for the brand? What is your goal here?
I mean, world domination, of course.
Naturally.
I mean, come on. Why would you get out of bed for anything less, right?
Right.
No, I mean, look, I mean, just my private equity background, you put on that, what's the total addressable market, right? I mean, it's just massive. I mean, it's so big. We're never going to scratch the surface of it in terms of being able to be the matchmaker plus the compliant sort of payroll HR solution for the globe. I mean, it's just, no matter what number you say, you can go 10 times bigger than that in a year. So, I mean, the opportunity is very, very large. Focus obviously is in identifying now. So we're obviously perfecting in the US. We have a lot of experience in the US, understanding how that works. Entering into the other English-speaking countries to sort of serve clients there, and then subsequently, like I mentioned, go into the French-speaking countries. At the same time, we're spending time on sort of identifying where the really complex countries are. Like I mentioned, Mexico is very, very complex. So actually finding franchisees in Mexico that are Mexican serving Mexican companies with other Latin American speaking or Spanish speaking countries, if you will, right? That are just easier, less complex, etc. From there, the next would be sort of solving any type of Germanic speaking countries and trying to see, is there a cost arbitrage? I mean, we're spending time trying to figure out, there's actually a large German speaking population in the south of Brazil. So is there enough of that? Are the skill sets right to be able to serve? I mean, you look at some of the most expensive places on the planet, Switzerland, right? And so like Luxembourg, et cetera. So is there a big arbitrage? If the language is right, can you make that work? I don't know. I mean, that's sort of like third inning. Right now we're focused on like English speaking countries, then French, and then we'll figure out the other ones down the line. But again, it's like the technology is the same. It doesn't matter. Like the actual delivery, all companies in the entire planet need to do the same thing. I mean, if you're in business, you're focused on one equation, which is revenue minus expenses equals margin, right? So like, it doesn't matter what you do, you're on that same thing. It doesn't matter what country you're in. So helping solve these sort of systemic problems or really own in on the opportunity, I mean, the market's just incredibly large. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about the support and the services that you're providing for the owner. Obviously, in an ideal world, they're coming in with contacts. They're coming in with their own experience in leading teams, managing, directing, being maybe an executive, and they're helping other owners or other executives. And so they may have those relationships and can help them out or they can build those relationships with their connections. Once they've identified this, the company and helped identify, let's say, the gaps, what the company might need, what are the tools that you guys are providing, and that support for finding the counterpart somewhere else in the world. And then, all of the complexities, that are involved in hiring that person.
So I'll speak to the technology, and then Tammy can jump into the sort of the support around the training. I'm literally the biggest technology idiot you've ever met in your life, right? So when we went off to build out our technology, it had to be really simple, really easy to use. Luckily, I'm a firm believer in always being the dumbest guy in the room and over hiring for where you're going, not where you are today. So we have an extremely wonderful and very intelligent chief operating officer and head of technology that built out just an absolute world-class technology, again, that had to be really intuitive and easy to use for everybody. So this technology platform sort of provides a variety of different dynamics. First, it acts as a CRM. So if you think about sort of the life cycle of a client, that's how it was sort of constructed. So it acts as a CRM for identifying customer relationship opportunities. Once those customer relationship opportunities are identified, it then takes you through an applicant tracking system. So you're a recruiter, and we can get more into that about sort of the functioning of the business. But your recruiter is going to be is an employee of each franchisee has their own recruiter or recruiting team, depending on the size of their business that they build. But the applicant tracking system allows them to sort of manage pulling applicants in and just tracking the pipeline of finding rock stars for their clients, if you will. Once people are hired, then this technology also acts as a global HRIS system. So this is doing all the benefits administration, taxes, any type of calculations, reporting, et cetera. I mean, if you think about just trying to manage reporting, employee stuff to 50 states, and we're doing it in hundreds of countries, right? So it's like there's a lot of this stuff going on. And then subsequently, it also acts as sort of an asset management piece. So we'll have a lot of clients that'll come to us and say, I really need my team members to have this type of computer, or I'd be able to have this type of technology or something along those lines. We have the ability to sort of act as a way to distribute those technologies, to procure them, distribute them to their team members, and provide sort of asset management around that, and really allow clients to be able to push the easy button in terms of being able to hire offshore. And then the last piece, it does all of the accounting, billing, invoicing, et cetera. So really, we like to think about it like you need your cell phone and our technology, and that is it, like in order to run your business. You're obviously on your email, you're texting, you're shaking hands, kissing babies, taking people out for wine and wine and steaks and whatever else, identifying where the opportunities are, but don't leave the tech. Literally, that is your entire ecosystem that your clients, your recruiter, your accountant, everybody can operate in one place. And we just had to make it really, really simple. So it's extremely powerful, but very easy to use. And so the technology is very, very strong to support the owners for that.
Well, yeah, and really excited though about who we have coming on board with satellite teams as well. So today we were interviewing an AI strategist and transformation architect. So I don't know, Matt, I thought that would be something maybe to bring up too. We're really, really excited about them coming on board and be able to not only work with our owners, but helping our owners with their clients as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that actually, how you guys are going to be utilizing, AI in this world. And so, yeah, please.
So that's part of our training too. To me, I say AI and global talent is the new infrastructure for skill. Like I've been, that's like that's my mantra because it really is. So yeah, so we're onboarding an AI strategist, and through that, we're going to have like deep dive workshops with our owners over how to leverage all the new technology, but then also how do we leverage that with our clients, right? So we'll have that person be able to do that and helping like the owners build those relationships with maybe clients they would have not because of the AI architect and the AI tools that they're going to have in place. And so, yeah, so we're really excited about that piece. So it's the combination of both that can make a huge impact on, a business, right? And right now it's a very, very important place to start. And just like Matt had mentioned that 85% of our clients had never hired offshore before. And it's not because they don't want to, they just don't know how to. But it's the same thing with AI. Yeah. A lot of people want to implement it. They feel like they're behind, but they're only implementing simplified processes, maybe using a chat box, Chat GPT or Claude or those type things. So we're taking that to another level and be able to offer that to our owners. Also, in our owner education, I mentioned a little bit about immersion. So when our owners start, we start with the next step the next best step process. And within their first few weeks, they do come to immersion where they'll be 4 to 5 days with Matt and I. And of course, we zoom in our whole entire team that is from around the world, which is really exciting to see when you see us all on the screen together. But that's really where the math gets layered. It's where the model comes alive. And we walk through every aspect from owner economics to tying in everything that Matt, the tech, the operation, how it all ties together with your recruiter, all the way to those first placements and to the recurring revenue. So everything is tied together in a big flywheel, if I could say it like that. And and so our owners will understand and work within that next best step. So we simplified the process, not only for our clients, but also for our owners. And in our resource centers, we put modules together for them. So if they were going to hire somebody in the legal industry, we already have job descriptions put together for them. The social proof, which I would love for Matt to talk a little bit about that, because that's really exciting. Our social proof, case studies, salary calculations. So all these tools are already in place for our owners to be able to leverage and use. So that's a little bit about the training piece of it. But again, relationships are the most important part, and we really do keep our focus there.
We try and think about, too, to teach folks, and a lot of it's intuitive, but it's just sort of making sure that folks are reminded of it. Like, what are the different avatars, right? You're going to speak to a CFO, cares about different things than a COO does, cares about different things than a CTO does. Subsequently, they all get bonus differently. So you're selling the same thing, but how are you communicating that based on the different avatars? Where are you identifying pain points, or based on different business sort of evolution, where they are in their business evolution, right? A company that just received a VC funding is very different than someone that just received funding from a growth equity or an LBO model, right? Very, very different sort of timelines, like mindsets, et cetera. So again, we want to take it from theory to like real practical application of how do we start mapping out how to have some of these conversations and get clients going right away. So lots of in-depth sort of education on a lot of different things.
Yeah. Sounds like it. I want to go back quickly to the AI portion of it. It sounds like you guys have a new person on board that's going to be helping out and with training and all that. So just so I understand this right, so if with this component, you're going to be able to help people, or your owners are going to be able to help their clients look at their needs kind of holistically and see, hey, for these tasks, maybe, we've got some, AI solutions for this where you don't actually need to hire people, but actually implement an AI solution. Oh, and for this over here, you're better off hiring an expert, outsourcing that to an employee, outside the country. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, if you think about it, there are, every 5 minutes, there's another AI technology that gets released, talked about, whatever, right? So it's like, I know myself included, you're just inundated with, there's literally not a company anymore that doesn't start with it. We are an AI native, blah, 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 right? Like, so, there's so much noise out there. And so, what we've found is that there's so many of our clients and even prospects that know that they need to leverage AI. It is the way of the future, but where do I start? And it becomes this function of perfection, creates paralysis. And so people just don't move forward, right? And so the dynamic was, okay, let's go find some really smart people that we'll put on our bench. So as a franchisor, we're making that investment. And then saying, okay, let's understand out of the quantum of 10,000 AI applications out there, like, let's figure out what are the top 10 for this industry, like how you'd actually leverage them, like not conceptually, how do you actually delve in and make it work? And then let's provide that resource to our owners. And so our owners have the ability to say, hey, I've got a prospect with, I'm meeting with John and Mary at ABC Co. I'd love to bring them in and have you learn a little bit about their business and just start sort of a solution engineering of what some options may be. So we're not there to implement it on their behalf to the extent that they'd like us to. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of organizations that should hire a chief, AI, whatever they want to call them. Yeah. Well, don't hire them in the US, hire them through us offshore. It's a whole lot. You can try a lot of stuff. You're creating a lot of room. There's like extremely intelligent people on the planet again. So it's one, how do you sort of understand what the art of the possible is, but then take this like, unwieldy buffet of AI options, drill it down to 10 that you can actually sort of figure out which are the best without you having to figure it out as a prospect. And then we can help you sort of figure out how to implement it and move it forward. Whether that's, again, you doing it on your own, you hiring, an AI team through us, or, lots of different gyrations, but we want to help them sort of think through holistic workforce and holistic sort of business process rather than just focusing on offshore resources. We want to add value to our clients' businesses at all times. And so however that may work or look, happy to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I love it. Matt, are you able to talk numbers with us a little bit? I know you guys have just started, so you probably don't have any information on from franchisees as far as like financial performance, but maybe on your corporate location, what's in your item 19? You mind sharing any of that?
Yeah, so our 19 is relatively simple. I mean, it's, we're 3.5 million. I spend 15 minutes a week at most on this thing, and it threw off 600 grand in my pocket last year. I mean, it is what it is. So, I mean, again, the work.
It's pretty good.
Yes, we have a 98% revenue retention. It grows and we just keep it. And so it goes back to the dynamic of, again, once you find a rock star that would cost, call it 50% of what it would cost you in the US, you're never going to let them go. And so it becomes a function of, we have property management companies in New York City. And so a bookkeeper, there's 100 grand plus taxes, plus, parking, plus real estate, plus all this other. I mean, it costs you 150 grand a year for a bookkeeper. Okay, but we can put their rock star in another country for 30 grand. Once you've gotten comfortable with that works, you're never going to go backwards to hiring, back in New York City. I mean, it's just not. So the revenue tension is very, very, very strong. And then it continues to grow. I always tell clients, it's not a function of, I'm going to change your paradigm from what can I offshore to what can't I? And that's sort of I'm not shy about telling them that. They laugh and I say, no, you think I'm kidding. You're going to hire this first person. Next month, you're going to call me. You're going to want 2 more. Then you're going to want 3 more the following month, right? And we've just seen this sort of growth dynamic happen quite a bit. So again, I really shifted the focus. We're now, really heavily focused on the, supporting our franchise and sort of growing the business that way. And so over the course of the next year, we're going to be sort of delving out and introducing our corporate store clients to our owners and let them sort of take those and move it forward. We don't want to sort of compete with our owners. That's not a dynamic we want to be in at all. So we'll be sort of, relaying those relationships over to our ownership group in order to be able to continue to expand those relationships. But yeah, I mean, it's the easiest 600 grand I've ever made in my life. I mean, it's you built it, shaking hands, kissing babies, taking your friends out for steak and wine and drinks, or whatever else. And then, what's so rewarding is the clients coming back saying wow, I was able to pay bonuses to my team. Wow, I was able to go hire 5 more salespeople because, through working with satellite teams, you guys created room in my budget. Wow, the success stories are incredible and they just sort of grow on themselves. So it's exciting stuff.
Tammy, question for you. So, it could be for either of you, but let's let Tammy answer this one first here. So I'm just thinking from the perspective of a client. If I have a business and let's say I've got, 100 employees or whatever in the US, and now I'm looking at adding people outside of the country, I'm curious to know how that works from a culture standpoint. If you're bringing people from other areas that aren't physically with everyone else. And I guess a lot of the businesses are mostly remote anyways, it seems like these days. So maybe that's not a thing, but I'm just curious to know how that impacts kind of the culture of the company.
Well, I think what makes us kind of disrupting the market a little bit is what we do on the front end. So we help really define those KPIs and who the client is looking for. The job description, we make sure that it's the exact right position. And for some of our some of the clients, some of the owners, business owners may not have, maybe they're looking for somebody in marketing, but they will say, I don't even know what the KPIs are. So we help to find that perfect employee that's sitting on the other side of the world. But the other piece is we want them embedded into their culture. So it's the company's culture that they're going to be embedded in. So on the front end, though, they could say, I want somebody with, that is bilingual. in this language and that language. I want somebody that will be on the phone, that is going to be in every one of our meetings. So the energy, like there's so many different things that and dynamics that they can look for to make sure that, the right person is placed on the team. So they become part of the culture of the business. And so it all depends on that. And Matt, I know you probably could speak a little bit more on that, the backside of that.
I mean, we make it really clear from when clients come up, or we're having a client with a prospect, or just having that first client interaction. Like you're building your satellite team as your satellite team. Like when you have a town hall, like your satellite team members need to be on that as well. If you're having like a company party or an all hands meeting, like they need to be participating in that. Like if you're sending out like koozies and like shirts, like we'll help you get them to your team members, right? Like the more you lean into these are my team members just in another office, and that's the mentality, and you go down and you do the work of saying, what is the career progression for this person, inside of my organization? The clients that win are the ones that sit there and say, my satellite team members, I want them to retire with me. Like they're taking that sort of long-term view, like they would, if they were, being well run in the U.S. Those are the ones that are going to have real success. And like we have success story after success story where you've seen people hire a junior person in their satellite team who are now executives at our clients, right? Like now they have people in the U.S. reporting to them, and they're in some other country. And so it's just a testament to, like, again, smart people all over the planet. It works if you lean into it and you let it work.
Right. Just as, all of us are in different, like Matt is in Mexico, right? I'm outside of Atlanta. You're in Seattle. It's the same thing. We could have Gerald, our COO, that's in the Philippines, right on with us right now. And you wouldn't know if they were not your neighbor across the street, right? So it's just pretty incredible.
A lot of our listeners, they are still in the corporate world right now and would love to get out and have their own business. What's one piece of advice for someone that is looking to jump ship, into franchising? What's one piece of advice that you would give them, Tammy?
Well, I would probably have to say with satellite teams, if you're already leveraging your relationships, you're already an executive, high performing, you've spent years building relationships, you don't want to ever walk away from that, whether you're retiring or you want to do something new, without walking away with your relationships too. All the time, effort, attention that you've already invested into that, and those relationships can come along with you in this type of business in satellite teams. So you don't have to start over. You're starting from complete experience. You don't need a brand new skill set to start. You need a platform that really turns what you've already built into an enterprise value. And so that would probably be one of my piece of advice, is that just remember of, what you've already done in the past. You bring all of those gifts, skills, talents to this, lean into the industry that you already know the most, and then you'll expand outside of that. And then we will walk you through all the next best steps of growing, building, scaling your new satellite teams business.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks, Tammy. How about you, Matt? What would you advise to someone that's considering the leap into franchise ownership?
I would say there's three things. The first one is become a really good reader, whether that be reader or listener to books, right? It's Tony Robbins saying, right, how you turn decades into days, right? In terms of franchising in particular, read, listen to E-Myth Revisited 5 times. Like, really important dynamic. Like, learn that book.
Michael
really
Gerber.
learn it. Next one that I always recommend is Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. You can love him or hate him. The rah, rah, rah. He's good at it. Fine. He's got a really good sales book. Another one, again, it comes down to, it's called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Regardless of if you're going into real estate or not, there's a lot of really good sort of conceptual dynamics to understand how to build organizational growth as an entrepreneur. So that's the first piece, sort of read 3 or 4, 10, 50 books on entrepreneurship, but you're never going to read enough about it without doing it, right? You can only read so much. Get really curious. So like intellectual curiosity needs to become like your itch that you can't scratch enough, right? Just ask a million questions. People are willing to help. But you'll get more confident the more questions, the more sort of competent you are in anything that you're doing. And then third is, we wake up, we're born in sales. We just try to pretend like we're not. Everybody's in sales. I mean, there's the whole saying around who's the best salespeople on the planet, a 5-year-old kid who wants an ice cream, right? Like they're gonna sell, they're relentless, right? They're gonna go get it done. So, I mean, we started at a very young age, but get comfortable in sales, right? I mean, you need to sell, your thoughts, your ideas, your products, your whatever it is. Like, get comfortable in that. Because I think some people, especially coming out of the corporate world, think, oh, well, the sales team just does all the sales. No. You're selling every day. You're just trying to compartmentalize it. Get comfortable in it. Learn that you're like how to persuade others with your ideas. Really important dynamic.
Yeah. I love it. There's definitely a stigma when people use the word sales or salesperson. And I think you're absolutely right, though. I mean, we're all salespeople, to some degree, and we're all trying to educate people on our point of view, right? And whether that's the 5-year-old trying to get the ice cream cone, or or the 40-year-old trying to get a raise, or whatever it is, all of us have a point of view and trying to express ourselves and get that across. And whether that results in someone buying something or simply just listening and agreeing with you, I think we're all in the same boat there. So that's great advice. Well, thank you both so much for your time and for sharing your nuggets of wisdom today. And congratulations on being franchise champions.
Thank you so much, Alan. Thanks for the time.
Alan.
Matt and Tammy are building something special, a global recruiting firm to help companies find the best talent, regardless of location. It's an intriguing franchise opportunity for leaders in the corporate world who want to utilize their experience and connections while starting a business they own with massive recurring revenue potential. If you got value from this episode, please subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. It takes 2 minutes and helps more people find the show. Makes a real difference. And if today's conversation has you thinking seriously about franchise ownership, go to athletetoowner.com/ready. Book 15 minutes with me, and we'll figure out if this is the right path for you. I'm Alan Regala, helping you become a franchise champion. See you next time.